Hey everyone, this is Charles, host of the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, where connections matter. In today's video, we have a conversation with Dayna Motts, who is the owner of Lady LLC. She is a brand strategist. She's going to share some simple tips to branding your business. Let's get started. I am your host of the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, where we bring you difference makers in the area of entrepreneurship and community involvement. And I'm excited tonight. We have a very special guest who is definitely a difference maker in the Detroit area. Let me read a little bit about our next guest. She is a wife, a mom, a licensed esthetician. She is an author, a speaker, and a health enthusiast. For the past 16 years, she has used her background to educate in the beauty industry on how the body works together by combining both nature and science. In 2019, she released her book, Kinkly Locks, as an additional resource for her community. She's also a brand strategist, business mentor, marketing. She helps people in marketing, branding, social media, and small business. In 2016, she launched her company called Lady LLC. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome our next guest, Mrs. Dayna Motts.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. So good to be here.
Yes. So you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, you growing up?
Yeah,
where you grew up?
absolutely. So as mentioned, my name is Dayna. You can find me everywhere, Dayna at Oily Hair Boss. And as we get more into our chat, it will all make sense and come together. So I was born and raised in the Metro Detroit area, born in Detroit. Later moved to the burbs. So I actually have lived all around Michigan, but mainly in the Metro Detroit area. And so I went to school in West Bloomfield. So I went to West Bloomfield High School. I went to Southfield schools before that. But always been in the Metro Detroit area. I have a special heart. Look, you see me representing Detroit Tigers. So born, raised here. All I know, I ride for my city.
All right. Now, I read a lot in your bio, in our introduction, and it seems like you're into a lot of things. It's like an amazing journey. I wanted to start out, just kind of share your journey to where you're at now in your business and the services you provide.
Absolutely. So for me, it really started from childhood. So I actually grew up. I had a lot of different health challenges and struggles and things like that. As I got older, I started just asking the questions why. And so for me, the foundation of everything I do, even when it comes to the way I teach branding and marketing and things like that, it all comes from a more holistic way. I believe that if we're not well here, nothing else works and nothing else matters. I have unfortunately seen in my own family, many people die prematurely. Some things, of course, are genetics, but a lot of things also are lifestyle. And so I truly believe that when we take care of this, everything else follows and everything else will have a beautiful marrying together. So I actually went to school to be a licensed esthetician. But my approach to aesthetics, for those that don't know what an esthetician is, that's all things skin. So when it comes to makeup, it comes to taking care of the skin. But the way I looked at it was what is causing the things, right? So it's not just about, on the surface, what it looks like, but what is your water intake? What is going on in your hormones? What is your skin or your body telling you that we can kind of work backwards to fix those things. And so moving forward, I started really dissecting more and more stuff that I realized that a lot of us, especially in my community, didn't realize is going on, which led me to getting into hair. I was actually appalled when I noticed a lot of the just regular personal care products, hair care products that are targeted to our demographics and the ingredients that are allowed to be in there. I read a study once that said that 60 to 70% of all the ingredients that are targeted for us actually have known carcinogenics, whereas in the other sector, it's only 30%. And for me, that blew me away because I just didn't know. And I really do believe, especially when it comes to certain lifestyle choices, many of us, we do what we do, not necessarily because, oh, we think this is a better way, but we just don't know any other options. And so I love, love, love marrying both of those beauties, that and my branding and marketing together, because I really, really do think that when we look at everything holistically, that's the only place where we can have success. So in the beauty industry, what I noticed is a lot of my colleagues, they would get really, really good at their skills. They would get really, really good at what they're doing. They would have all types of extra education, but they didn't know how to market themselves. They didn't know how to promote what they did, and they didn't know how to continue to touch people even when you weren't in their chair or on their bed. And what I mean by that is, if you, and I would challenge any of you guys, whether you're in the beauty industry or you know someone in the beauty industry, ask them, right? If they want to go on vacation, what happens? So if they don't touch people, they don't make money. And so one of the most beautiful things I love to do, especially with entrepreneurs, is let's look at your business from a holistic standpoint, and let's create experiences for people, and let's see how we can, of course, expand when it comes to our income, but also be able to continue to have residual income, or income that continues even when you're not working.
Okay. Oh, that is awesome. So your journey started as a in the beauty industry as an esthetician,
Yep.
and you began to be concerned about the science, the body, and how it's affecting, especially beauty and hair care. It appears how it affects women of color.
Yes.
Is that fair to say, how you got your start? What motivated you to go into to be an esthetician, or to go into the beauty industry? Was that something that you always thought about as a child, or how did you get exposed to that? What's your story behind that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have always loved pretty things. I've loved beauty, pretty things. But I also, so I originally was going to school to be a physical therapist. And what I loved about that was the human body and function. And I love, 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 again, because I'm just so into how and why things function the way it does. Halfway through that program, they changed it where you needed a doctorate instead of a master's. And I made a decision during that period of time that I wanted to actually study to be a massage therapist, because I could still learn anatomy and I could learn body. And what I kind of decided was, let me take a break from school. Let me see how I feel about this and see if it kind of resonates with me. As I did that, I actually, even before I had my licensing, had a job. And I realized how much deeper this profession could go if people actually looked at it from a holistic standpoint. So from the beginning of my journey as an esthetician in the beauty industry, I realized that most people only look at it from a surface layer. And it allowed me that ability to use that same skills that I always was passionate about when it came to the body, when it came to skin, when it came to how it was working, and actually to do it and elevate what that looks like. Because even when it comes to in our industry, especially for women of color, So many of us are struggling with things when it comes to acne or when it comes to hyperpigmentation. And a lot of times we don't realize the connections that's having with our lifestyle, the connections that's having with some of the other things. So I would definitely say that there was a level growing up that I always was interested in it, but I also really love to make things pretty. So like at the end of the day, yes, I want my skin to be healthy, but I also want to look good, or I want to help other people look good, and I want to help them feel good. And so because that kind of carried on with me as I got older, I continue to really like dive into all the aspects. So even when it came to hair care, and then when it came to makeup, and learning more of those things, because my thing is I love being healthy, but I also want food to taste well, and I want my makeup to look good, right? So I don't want to sacrifice those things in pursuit of just being healthy. I want it to be something that you're going to replace, but it's going to actually either be better or just as good as what you're leaving behind.
Wow, that's awesome. So you had a passion of beauty and liking pretty things. And that's interesting that you were into kind of like a medical field, physical therapy, and you decided to go a different direction. I think that takes a lot of courage to make that pivot and to pursue something that you're passionate about and you're interested in. I want to go into you talked about, when I read in your bio, you're as a brand strategist. So you got your start as an esthetician. You started looking at women's health, as well as some of the effects of the beauty industry on women of color. I'm curious, how did you develop yourself, or how did you gain the experience in terms of being a brand strategist? And how would you define a brand strategist?
Yeah, so I love that question. So, a brand strategist just basically is a person that is going to pull out of you who you are and how you want to be represented as your company to the rest of the world. It really takes strategy to communicate what your values are, to communicate what you stand for, and really who your ideal person is that you want to draw. Okay. So for me, as I built, and this is any beauty professional, as you build your craft, you realize that you, in a sense, are in your own small business. You are an entrepreneur. So even if you work for a salon or work at a spa, you still have to build your own clientele. You still have to promote and put yourself out there. And so what I would find is one of the first spas that I end up working at, I became the head esthetician. And in a sense, what that just meant is I trained new estheticians when they would come in. And what I didn't realize is a lot of the things that I was doing to brand myself or market myself, I thought was just normal. I'm like, oh, everybody knows that, if you have a client, you should send them a card. You should, make sure you're touching base with them afterwards and give them aftercare so they know what to do and come back to you and rebook. And to me, those things were common knowledge. But what I realized is it actually wasn't. And so as I was training new estheticians, I realized, hey, there's a missing piece here. There's a huge gap in first the beauty industry. And as I continue to grow that business, realize, wow, there's a gap in a lot of entrepreneurs where they don't realize how they need to brand themselves and how important that is, or how they need to market themselves. I often use even like companies, like you can see a logo like Coca-Cola, and the colors, the shape of how that Coca-Cola is spelled, because they've imprinted that brand in your brain. And so there's brand recognition every time it flashes, whether it's flashing on the TV or flashing on a billboard, you recognize that immediately. And as an entrepreneur, it's important that you have that same rhythm. So many times I will see people, and it breaks my heart, because I will come to maybe their space where they work, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Everybody wants to be there. But then I go to their website and I'm like, there's a disconnect, right? Like your brand doesn't
Right.
continue from the experience that people are seeing here and how they even first get introduced to you and want to book with you.
Wow, wow. So basically, you're saying that as you worked at some of the salons or the shops and things that you thought was just expected, normal to get customers, to build customer relationships, and to develop your personal brand as a esthetician or stylist or whatever. Uh, you saw that people just didn't have those normal behaviors or understood the process. Is that
Right.
fair to say?
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious. How did you develop your brand style? Did you like read books? Did you take classes, or is just something that was just a normal knack for you?
So it started as something that was just a normal knack for me. But what I realized, especially as I was getting more and more people asking me questions and more people that were benefiting from the things that I was sharing, I love education. So I wanted to get certified in those things. I wanted to be able to then actually have those tools as a professional to then be able to offer that to other people. So I did go ahead and get some certifications. I did do further schooling so I could really, really understand marketing because I was understanding it from the beauty industry, but I wanted to understand branding and marketing in general. I wanted to understand it for small businesses. I wanted to understand it for entrepreneurs, which then kind of led me into understanding, oh, wait a minute, there's this whole thing called SEO. There's this whole thing called, email marketing. Like there's all these other spaces that had it not been for me continuing my education, getting certifications, I probably would have not been as valuable as I think that I am now for small businesses and those that I work with. So that was a huge thing. I definitely went and got some further education.
Well, that's awesome. So that's exciting in your journey that you learned hands-on experience with branding and marketing, and also you invested in yourself to get certifications and education. Sticking with that theme of branding, and of course, the theme of our interview, I wanted you to touch on tips on branding your business online. I wanted to ask you though, what are some of the common mistakes that individuals and businesses or startups make in branding?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is they don't have a brand. I think the biggest mistake is they don't have one. And the reason this is so crucial that you hone in on what your brand is, what it looks like, is because if you are targeting everyone, you're targeting no one. And so the nice thing about knowing, and just think about any company that you know out there. They have a mission statement, right? They have a vision. You can probably go to their website and you can figure out what their vision and their mission is. And so it shouldn't be any different for small businesses. You should be so clear on that mission and vision, and it should be so intertwined into your brand that, again, every time people identify you, they know who and what you stand for. Branding is not just about a logo. Should you have a logo? Absolutely. Should you make sure your colors and fonts and these things correspond? Absolutely. But that doesn't make the branding. What makes the branding is your values and that mission statement. So, depending on what type of business you are, in the values that you stand for, you are going to alienate some people that don't fit that. And that's okay. Um, One thing that I also see a lot of people focus on is metrics that don't actually matter. So people start getting caught up in how many views am I getting? How many likes am I getting? And the reality is, if you're a business owner, the likes only mean anything if they're clicking on your links and they're purchasing, right? If I'm a business and all you're doing is liking everything and it's not converting to sales, then we're focusing on those wrong metrics.
Okay, that's awesome. So you said though you shared about the common mistakes. What would you say to someone who's just starting out? They maybe they had to start with a hobby and they're trying to go into business. Maybe people are trying to pivot from the pandemic. What would be some tips you would give them on just some simple things about branding?
Yeah. So simple things, get clear, get very, very clear, exhaust all of the free things you can. So like whether that's following people that are doing branding and marketing and things like that, following podcasts like this podcast, getting
Thank
in
you.
the room in that knowledge and information, get as
Hmm.
much as you can for free first, and
Yes.
then start investing in yourself and your business. Investing your time, investing your funds, investing whatever it is you have. I think so many times it can be easy to say, oh, well, I'm not making enough money or I'm not doing this. But the more you kind of invest, the more that you really, really hone in on those things, I promise you it's going to convert, and it's going to convert in the way that it needs to.
Okay. What would you say to someone who feels a little bit overwhelmed with branding? And what would be the first thing you would advise them to do?
Um, so the first thing I would say is take it small. Like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Okay. So
Right.
yes, it's a lot. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not a lot. It is. That's why a lot of people hire other people to do it, right? That's why
Right.
people outsource a lot of those things. If you're in a
Yes.
position to do that, I mean, absolutely do it. But most of the small businesses that I usually first start working, they don't have the funds to pay somebody or outsource a lot of those things. So start with the simple things, okay? Get clear on your vision, get clear on your mission, and make sure every single time you're posting, every time you are putting things on your website, every time you are communicating, it's honing in on that vision and mission. Because the more that you are talking about those things, the more people are going to remember it and it's going to resonate with you. Then you can start doing the other stuff like your logo and your colors and your this and your that. But I do feel like a lot of that you can learn by following people that are doing it. Be in the room with other entrepreneurs that are doing it. Get referrals for things that have worked for other
Okay.
entrepreneurs and tools
Yes.
that you can leverage.
That is awesome. That's some great tips. I was listening, and those are some of the things that I've been trying to implement. And definitely, I'm going to take your advice on some other things that you shared. And I think those deserve some air horns for. Oh, those claps. Let me get the air horns in. Yeah, there you go.
Love it.
Um, Also, wanted to get into. I believe in it was in 2019 you released a new book, and I want to make sure how you pronounce the title. I want to make sure. Is it?
Yeah, It's
Go ahead.
it's kinky locks, like kinky hair.
Kinky Locks. Okay, Kinky Locks. Kinky Locks. I want to make sure.
Yep.
Kinky Locks. So
Yep.
tell us more about your book and how did that get started?
Yeah. So in my journey as a beauty professional, most of the places that I had to work, retail was a huge part of our sales. And because I'm a researcher by nature, I would look at the ingredients of some of these products and I'm like, yo, y'all can go in the kitchen and y'all can make this. like they charging y'all a lot of money and it would be cheaper for you just to make it. And I found again, and I kind of mentioned this, that I was most appalled by the ingredients that were allowed in stuff that was targeted for me. So I was like, when I found this out, I just know I'm like, I know other people don't know it. If I didn't know this, and I'm in the beauty industry, I know the common person doesn't know these things. And so the book is actually a DIY hair book. And in the beginning of the book, what I do is I break down ingredients that you should avoid in hair care and ingredients that you should add to your hair care. Most of the recipes in that book, you can use simple things like essential oils, and you can use flax seeds and things that you can honestly go to either a health food store or you can go to your local grocery store and get ingredients. I really do believe that we have gotten so far from our natural, original healing, which came from the earth. And so the book really takes us back to that foundation. and gives you tools. Because the other thing that was hard for me is, as I was trying to make these transitions to better products, I couldn't find anything on the market. And so for me, I wanted to give people a tool so that they would be able to take it on their own and create their own products and create their own things. So there's stuff in there for hair rinses. There's stuff in there for hair masks. There's stuff for detangling sprays. There's a little bit of everything when it comes to hair care. Most of the hair care that I use, I just make it myself.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, a lot of natural hair care tips, and for those who want to go down the natural way, is that fair to say?
So even if you're not natural, a lot of the recipes can still be used. And so
Okay.
what I mean by that, like, everybody needs to use a hair mask every once in a while.
Okay.
Now, like my flaxseed gel, that is the gel that I use to kind of keep my natural hair in place.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
that might not be something if maybe you wear your hair straight or flat iron it, but there's
Yeah.
definitely recipes for everyone in there.
Yes. Yes. Now, how does someone get a hold of your book? Is it on Amazon? Do they directly contact you, or?
So either or. So yes, I keep them on hand. You can get them directly from me, or it is also available on Amazon. So if you just type in Kinky Locks natural hair book, the on there it says DNA Wellness. So just type it in. You can find it anywhere there. But yeah, it's very accessible. I do have them on hand as well.
All right, that's awesome. So directly accessible to you to get the book. Okay. You also in your description, in your bio and the work that you do, so you have like a mom women networking group, or what's that all about?
I do. So, one of the struggles I found for myself, so I've now been in this entrepreneur space for about 7 years. And I homeschool my kids, and I homeschooled my kids before everybody had to homeschool their kids. And my parents live in Tennessee. So I don't have the luxury of having someone close that can constantly watch my children. But I didn't want to choose. To me, I want to show my kids that I can be, an entrepreneur. I can build businesses. I can do things. And so what I decided was, we don't have any networking groups or events where people are like, hey, bring your kids with you. So here in Detroit, I host once a month networking events. I'm constantly looking for, I'm a little bit biased, women-owned businesses to host and women-owned businesses that I can sponsor. So I want them to get visible. I want them to get seen. I emphasize moms simply because I want all of my events to always be child friendly. I don't want, you can't find someone to watch your child to be an excuse as to why you can't network, why you can't connect with other business owners, why you can't promote yourself. And so I created that space. It's not only moms, all are welcome. They all are welcome. But I do want to create a inclusive space where there's no barriers. There's no barriers to building your business. There's no barriers to you being able to connect with the right people and building those relationships.
Okay, that's good. That's good that you focus on empowering women, especially moms with young children who are on that entrepreneurial path. So how do your target audience, how do they get involved in the moms mentoring or moms networking program?
Yes. So I do have a group on Facebook that I think right now we're a little over 500 or something like that in the group. So definitely join the group. It's called Moms in Business Networking Detroit. You can join the group. You will see all of the things coming up. I have like promote yourself days. Like every Thursday, anybody in the group can take over. They can promote themselves. And then you will see all of our upcoming events as well. So we actually do have an event coming up this coming Tuesday. It'll be from 6 to 8, and it's going to be at the Congregation Detroit. It's a woman-owned. They actually repurposed an old church. And so it's a cafe slash coffee shop slash you can get a drink down there too. So we are renting out the basement, and we have a private area where all are welcome. So you can also snag your tickets for that if you wanted to come. But like I said, I do them once a month. I do one big event, and then I do some little stuff in between, just to, again, give women resources, because I want them also to not only network, but I also want them to have resources.
That's great. I think that's a great opportunity for women to have those type of resources. Now, so you said you do events once a month, and also you have a Facebook group of right now 500 members. Okay, and I just want to let those who are viewing this podcast, we will have in our show notes, in the description show notes, how you can connect with Dayna Motts and her various groups. So we will leave that available. So that's awesome. So let's say somebody who's just they're watching this podcast, they feel a little bit overwhelmed with branding, and they want to work directly with you. Uh, what if they decide to work directly with you? What can they expect?
Yeah. So I am all about simplifying. Okay. So one of the things that I emphasize to people is batching and scheduling. Let's make it feel like you're everywhere without having to be everywhere. So I am a master at organizing chaos and making it very, very easy and simple. So what you will get first and foremost is me 100%. Let's take your vision and let's make it simple. Because I do think that it can get easy to get lost in all of the noise of everything going on, whether it's, oh, should I be doing reels now? Or, oh, should I be over on this platform? Or, oh, should I be on TikTok? And it can be easy to feel like, I don't know where to start, right? I don't know where my brand makes the most sense. I don't know where to start for a logo. Because I also do a lot of networking, and I have my mom's group. I have a lot of connections that I can help other small businesses with. So if you need somebody to design a website for you, I can get you a resource for somebody that does that. If you need graphics specifically, I'm not a graphic designer. I can tell you something does look pretty or it doesn't look pretty, but I'm not a graphic designer. So I can connect you with the proper people. So just know that whatever chaos you feel like you are in your small business, I'm here to simplify all of that and make it easy.
Wow. Okay. So you not only do you give them advice and direction and a strategy, you connect them with other resources to help them with graphic design, and you connect them with people and resources with logo design and all that. That's great. Yes, that's awesome. So, what's the best way people to get in touch with you if they said, I need a little bit of help, I need some evaluation of, is my strategy effective, to establish their brand? What's the best way folks can get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I am super, super active on pretty much all the socials. So the best way to get in contact with me, honestly and truthfully, is just shoot me a direct message in any of my socials. So you can find me, Dayna Oily Hair Boss, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, any of the platforms. If you just type in Dayna with a Y, make sure you have the Y, Oily Hair Boss, you will be able to find me. Shoot me a direct message. I check that. I'm very, very active in them. You can also email me. It's Lady LLC@gmail.com. But honestly and truthfully, the best way is on the socials to get in contact with me.
All right. So the best way to get into contact with Lady Day is through the socials. Do you prefer Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok? I'm not even on TikTok. Maybe I should be. But what's the best social to reach out to you? LinkedIn, TikTok?
Really probably LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. Like I said, I'm very active. I'm very active on all of them. So you'll see me posting, you'll see me over here and there. TikTok, I'm actually not as active. I am on TikTok, but most of what I do on TikTok is I downloaded something from here and uploaded it over there. just because for my brand, it doesn't actually make that much sense. So,
Okay.
which is important and why you need a brand strategist, because you need to know why you need to be on different
Right.
platforms.
Where your audience is at. Right. Okay. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to know any final tips or words or wisdom you would like to share?
I want to go back and just again emphasize, get in the room. So I love that Dr. Alexandria wrote it, be in the room. I cannot stress how impactful that has been for me, my business, and any women that or men that I have worked with. When they put themselves in the rooms that they need to be in, so many powerful things happen. I think sometimes we get intimidated by networking. We get intimidated by putting ourselves out there, even if it's like putting yourself out there in a live and things like that. And the reality is, the more you put yourself in the rooms, you might not immediately get the results that you want. You might go in there and you're like, I made no sales, or I didn't really connect with all that people. But the reality is, you have grown, right? Because you did something that you had not done before. When I think about even in my first year or two where I got really serious about networking, it took me so long to perfect my pitch. I got really nervous when it was my turn to introduce myself. I got really wordy and people got really confused, right? But it's that going and going and going and going that eventually I'm like, I got this, right? Like I can get good at this. So even though that didn't directly get me sales back then, it trained me to be better. So when I had the ideal client and the ideal person, I was on it and I was ready to take control of that and be able to convert to a sale.
That's great. I like what you said. The importance of being in the room and just kind of working on your quick. Well, I guess some people call it elevator pitch or your 1 minute. Hey, this is what I do. This is my ideal client. This is the services I provide. I think that's awesome. So, folks who are watching this or listening, just get into the room to establish your brand, to increase your visibility. Any announcements? Any announcements or upcoming things or projects or things that you got upcoming?
Yeah. So again, definitely join any of my networking events. If you're available Tuesday, would love, and you're in Detroit. I always have my events in Detroit. I'm a little biased to the city, but it's at the Congregation Detroit. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Every quarter, another thing that I do is I do workshops. So when it comes to business strategy and marketing, I really do feel like when you break your strategy into the quarters, you can focus and refocus on the most important thing. So my next workshop will be coming up in July, because that will be the beginning of that quarter. So definitely join me, follow me, and connect, because there's a lot of great events and things coming up. And anywhere your business might be, I pretty sure I have something that I can just help support you and connect you with.
Okay, that's awesome. So a lot of great stuff happening. Your upcoming events this Tuesday, is that correct? This
Yes.
Tuesday. All
Yes.
right, and then people can reach out to you through socials. They can join your Facebook group.
Yes.
That's awesome. And then we'll have that information in the show notes. Okay, so that pretty much concludes our interview. If you've found value in our podcast, I definitely want to encourage you to like and subscribe. And we would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear if you make comments or questions or ideas for future topics or guests. Definitely encourage that. And we just want to, again, we want to thank our guests for being on this podcast. I really appreciate your time and sharing those major brand strategy tips.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. Like I said before, make sure you continue to feed your mind on things like this. Like, make sure that you tune in to this podcast. Make sure that you're continuing to get this knowledge and information, because it's invaluable. And again, I'm grateful to have been able to be on here and hope that I brought value.
Absolutely. We really appreciate you, and we thank you for your time and just some good information on brand strategy. And thank you for sharing just your journey. And how do people get your book again? I want to make sure people who are interested in hair care, natural waste recipes to help them with their hair. What's the way they can get to your book again?
Yep. So on Amazon, so just type in Kinky Locks DNA
Mhm.
Wellness. Kinky Locks DNA
All right.
Wellness. You'll find it.
All right. Well, thanks again for viewing this podcast, and want to encourage you to like and subscribe. And we're about bringing difference makers in the area of entrepreneurship and community involvement. We're about connections matter, bringing people together, celebrating people, and empowering you to increase your reach on social media and in the marketplace. Thanks for tuning in and watching this live podcast, and well as watching the replay. Thanks again.